Gentleman from Henrico, Mr. Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there were two interesting articles in the paper this weekend from our local daily. One of our local daily, the Richmond Times-Dispatch, thought it might be of interest to the body. Approximately 24 years ago, Virginia passed the Virginia Instant Background Check. Many people at the time opined about the efficacy of such an instant background check. I mean, would people really who ought not to be purchasing guns or illegal to purchase guns, felons, people involved in domestic violence, drug offenders and mentally ill, would they really try to buy a gun? Well, Mr. Speaker, I was shocked, surprised about the number. Front page story, ladies and gentlemen, 16,600 people in the last 24 years felons have sought to purchase handguns who weren't allowed to. Now, when you expand that to the people who are drug users, mentally ill, and domestic assault offenders, that's expanded to 54,000. In the last 24 years, 54,000 people who ought not to be possessing guns were prevented from possessing guns. So the thought occurred to me, if one were a felon and one knew that if he went to get a gun and he ought not to be, or is illegal to purchase it, why not just go to a gun show? Because when you go to a gun show, there's no background check. It suggests, Mr. Speaker, that maybe we ought to have background checks at gun shows. The other article, Mr. Speaker, that caught my attention was a sad story. And it began in 2010 when 8 individuals were killed in Appomattox County by Mr. Christopher Spate. He slayed 8 members of his family, and he had a concealed gun permit, which is not to suggest that people that have concealed gun permits commit violent activities. It is to suggest the following, though. The family members knew that he was mentally ill, and family members knew or could know that he had a concealed gun permit because they could access those records. Those two things together made it a criminal activity. And the thought occurred to me, if the governor signs into the law that piece of legislation that was encouraged and promoted by my friend and gentleman from Delegate from Shenandoah Valley, restricting access and preventing clerks from telling people who has a concealed gun permit, then this individual, Christopher Spate, family members would never know that he had a concealed gun permit. All the more reason, Mr. Speaker, why any suggestion that the circuit court clerks ought to conceal or not disseminate information about concealed gun permits ought to be not signed into law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.